Back on Spreecast, got a special guest today. I think I've had him on my podcast at least 50 something
Up?
times or some other. Trey Weatherholtz from rural St. Thomas and Battle of Seasons and Rivals 2. How we doing, sir?
How you doing? We're good,
How we
man.
doing
We're
today,
good.
sir? I'm doing great, man.
Yeah,
Very glad to have
I'm
you on
sorry
here.
for I just want to apologize in advance, man. I know I'm like 10 minutes late. If you guys couldn't tell, I was taking a nap. My room's kind of dark and my hair is kind of like, look at my hair. Look at my hair, guys. Look. Oh my God. Yeah, I fell asleep. So I'm sorry about that. That was very unprofessional of me.
Oh, no worries. It's happened to me before. I'll tell you who did it her later
All right.
because I don't want to call him out right now. But but if you guys are new on Spreecast, you guys can ask Trey anything using the submit question button right below Trey. So yeah, man. We talked about what it was like being Zach's partner, being how you felt about being Zach's partner. Um, back when I had you back in early July. Did you enjoy being partners with Zach?
Um, I mean, I did later on throughout the season. I got to be honest. Like when TJ first said Zach was my partner, it probably wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I was expecting. Out of that whole cast, I think everybody knows I probably would have wanted to be paired with Rob if I had my first choice right away. But over the course of the season, I mean, especially after we won two challenges, it started working out, and I couldn't say I didn't like it. I mean, they gave me the biggest and strongest guy in the house. And yeah, this last episode you saw, he has attitude problems. I knew that from Battle of the Seasons in Turkey, but I have attitude problems too. So I'm not perfect, and I didn't really look at it like he's bad and I'm good, or this wasn't going to work out. I mean, physically we were just a really strong team. So after we won a couple challenges and later on in the season, I was kind of happy he was my partner. I thought we worked really well together.
hmm So yeah, before we get into the stuff that happened last week, I gotta ask you, man. How did it feel to win an individual one of the mini challenges? I mean, you guys didn't weren't able to do that on a battle of seasons, but how was it? What was it like winning your very first challenge?
It meant a lot to me, Andrew, and I think I posted something on my Facebook about it too. Like the night that the first episode aired, I posted something on Facebook about how much it meant to me and how excited I was. And I'm actually friends with Wes on Facebook on our personal pages, and he commented on my status, and he was kind of laughing at me and making fun of me. And I think it's because like Wes is such a veteran. He's been doing this for so long. Like to him, he probably forgets his first challenge win, but for me, I'm still technically a rookie, and it meant a lot to me. So I was catching a little bit of shit from the veterans, but for me, man, I think you guys all saw the enthusiasm in my voice and in my facial expressions. When I leaped into Zach's arms and we were the only ones hanging, I was pumped up, man. I was jazzed up, and even Kenny Santucci in the after show on MTV.com, he was kind of making fun of me for how excited I was, and I'm cool with that. I don't care if my enthusiasm for winning a challenge was the only thing that people could make fun of me for this season, then so be it. I think I'm starting to do something right finally for once.
Absolutely, and I mean, I bet things that you guys can check off as far as like big moments in challenge history: winning your first individual challenge, winning your first elimination round, which you'll
Eventually,
win one. I know you will, and then winning your first challenge overall. So I mean, you got
I'm
one of the three
I'm gonna get the other two, man.
checked off the
That's the
list.
goal.
So I have no doubt you will. So yeah, winning that first challenge, you guys won the first two challenges. How was it? How did it feel going into that up to that point? I mean, you guys were a lot of teams threatened by you guys, as we probably saw in last week's episode.
I mean, I think you could tell right off the bat that people felt kind of threatened. I think I just heard an interview that Leroy had with somebody where they asked him right off the bat initially going into the house what team he thought was the strongest, and he said Zach and I. So, this isn't just me tooting my own horn. I think a lot of the other castmates, if you ask them, I think that they looked at our team on paper and they respected us, at least physically. Obviously, the majority of that's going to come from Zach, just because, again, he is the biggest guy in the house. But in that same regard, this is a partner game and it is 50-50. So I think that, had Zach been paired with Preston or Derek or maybe somebody else who people might not consider a stronger competitor, they might not have considered the team as strong. So I think that I definitely had something to do with that. I think that people do respect my athletic ability. I think that people do respect me as a person for the most part. So, again, obviously Zach is the biggest, but I felt like I definitely did a great job of carrying my weight and doing what I had to do.
Hmm. Got a good question, Eric. We saw stuff from Wes, and we saw stuff from Johnny in last week's episode. He wants to know, why do you think Wes gets such a bad rap among many of the cast and fans, while Johnny gets mostly a free pass for being such a
Yeah, that's a
scoundrel in
great
his words?
question. I think you know what, now that I just thought about it, I think that it more so has to do with possibly the female to male aspect. Like, especially in these games, you see that it's guys voting for girls, girls voting for guys. What does Johnny do? Johnny, not to the level that CT does, but Johnny gets in real tight with the girls. He gets in real tight with the ladies. You heard him in the last, or you heard Teresa in the last episode. She said, Johnny's my boy. I'm not voting Johnny in. And Zach and I wanted to get Johnny in the elimination. Had that been Wes asking to get thrown in against Zach and I, or Zach and I asking for Wes, I don't think the girls would have been as hesitant to throw Wes in. So for whatever reason, you saw his past in a challenge with Cara Maria when he poured soda on her head. I think that Wes has just kind of gone above and beyond with the females a little bit, and I think he's burned a couple bridges there. So that's what I think it comes down to. I think the guys all know that Johnny's a snake, and I think the guys for the most part actually get along with Wes. I mean, aside from your JEK dynasty or whatever it is, I actually think the majority of people in the house like Wes. If you ask Zach, Zach likes Wes. I like Wes. Rob likes Wes. I don't know too many people that don't like him. So I think it's a fan thing, and I also think it's probably the majority of the girls if they've had a bad pass with Wes.
He just says a lot of stuff that comes off as egotistical. So I mean, we've been
Well,
seeing
listen,
this for
man. I mean, look at
years.
look at my
I mean, I don't,
personality.
I don't,
Battle of the
I don't know if
Seasons.
I
I
have an
mean,
issue with
he
him.
called me out, and this is my very first challenge, and he called me out in an interview saying that I was basically his fan, and I would do, whatever he wants and stuff like that. So, listen, man, Wes, I'm not exempt to Wes's jokes. I told you just a couple minutes ago, he even made fun of me on my own personal Facebook page. So, it's just about your personality and your sense of humor, and
Yeah.
you got to understand how to take Wes. Wes is not he's not a mean person. Wes is not a mean person. He's not out to get you. He's not out to intentionally hurt people's feelings. He's just a jokester. And Buneman Murray has made a lot of money off of portraying him as this villain or this political mastermind. So he's just got to ride with it now. That's his role.
Yeah. hmm so going back to last week's episode real quick, we see Zach feeling sick. I know you said something, I believe it was on AfterBuzz, about the
Uh-huh.
MSG. If you could go ahead and talk about that. I know Teresa, speaking to Teresa prior, she had to go to the hospital a
Yeah,
couple times
Zach and
because of
Teresa
that.
were the two people that got the sickest, but also Trishelle was sick prior to her leaving. I think the Anissa thing with Trishelle is 95% of the reason why Trishelle left, but there was another 5% of Trishelle that was not feeling well. Our health care was not up to standards. It wasn't up to par, not even as much as it was in Turkey. So I think that had part to do with it. So our food, I mean, it's always a problem when you go to these foreign places, okay? Because it's not like Real World. Real World is a completely different show. You get
No
money and then you
subways.
go out, you have a deal with Subway, and even if you don't have a deal with Subway, you have money and you can go anywhere on the island and buy your own food. As long as the camera can go in there with you, you can go in any restaurant you want. Um, but when we're traveling and doing the challenges for safety reasons and all that other junk, we're not allowed to leave the house. It's not like Real World where you can just walk around the city and they follow you with a camera. So they bring us food and they try to do a great job. And in their defense, it's not like I feel like they're trying to screw us. I mean, I really feel like they genuinely do care about us, and I do believe that they do try their best. But resources are limited when you go to a foreign country, and you can't really, when we were in Turkey and the catering was bad, I remember everybody in the house complaining to production, like, "Can you guys please get us another catering company?" And they're like, "Listen, this is all we've got. Like, we're trying. Like, we're not trying to intentionally make you guys sick. We're not trying to intentionally give you bad food. It's just this is all we have, and it's really hard for us in a foreign country to kind of navigate through, and just, it's not like in America you can just go through the yellow pages and pick out like 50 different catering companies. So that's pretty much it, Andrew. I think it comes down to just, your resources are kind of limited, and it's not like real world where you can just kind of go around and do what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, going off of Zach's illness, Zach and Frank, um, how were they going into the season? Were they still cool? Because I mean, we saw it go kaput on the last episode, and I don't think they're cool now. But were
I
they
think that
cool
they
going
were
in?
cool going in. They sat next to each other on the plane ride to Singapore and to Thailand. So I sat a row in front of them, and I could hear them joking around. And even I felt like they were whispering about me a little bit, because we still weren't even really cool. And I felt like it was going to be turkey all over again. So, up until the point where TJ announced that it was rivals, I'm pretty sure that Zach and Frank were going into this one expecting to work together again, to run the house again, and do this whole political thing, possibly, from my point of view, be mean to people, you know what I mean? And I was really nervous about it. I remember telling people before I left, I was like, man, those are the two guys that I don't want to see. I know Zach said that in the first episode. I was the only one he didn't like, but him and Frank to me were like the ones that kind of ruined it for me. And I didn't, I was even hesitant to even accept the next challenge offer because it was so bad the last time. I remember just living in Turkey and I was miserable. I didn't come out of the bedroom. That's why you guys barely ever saw me. I didn't get along with anybody, and I just felt like they kind of ruined it for me. So yeah, to answer the question, back on topic, man, it's Zach and Frank. I think they were cool in the beginning, but after they found out they were rivals, I don't think Zach's ever liked Johnny, and I think that he kind of went into this and he was kind of looking to dethrone Johnny anyway. So once him and Frank started having problems, I think that Zach just kind of let it all out.
Hmm. Um, to segue into why you guys got as angry as you did at Johnny. What was the whole strategy as far as who you guys were gonna try against and who you guys weren't gonna try against? Night and you guys were gonna swing at Night and Preston, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
Johnny was the only
correct.
one
And
that
I
didn't.
mean, one of the only reasons, I mean, the main reason that we were going to swing on Knight and Preston is because obviously Zach and I did not want to come in last. I mean, that's just a given. You don't have to explain it. Nobody wants to be last. Okay, but the rationale and the thinking is, and if you guys go back, watch the episode, listen to Zach. Zach even said Zach wanted to let Johnny and Frank go. Zach was the one pretty much initiating all of the scheming that went into this challenge, and he said, I think that we should let Johnny and Frank go. And Johnny decided not to swing on Knight and Preston, which was our original agreement. Obviously, you hear Johnny in his own personal interviews now, so we know the scoop. He's like, oh, I'm not going to swing. I want Zach and Trey to go in the jungle. So I get it. And I understand, again, why Johnny did it. I understand. But we were going to not give CT and Wes a pass, not give Leroy and Ty. We were going to let Johnny and Frank walk. We were going to give them the challenge. They would have came in first this week, not CT and Wes. And we could have started this ploy. But they chose, well, I should say Johnny chose, because Frank actually swung, which was like half-ass, but he still swung. But Johnny chose not to swing. So at that point, I think at that very point in time, Zach became so irate that it was just, hey, you know what? It's only we were there. I think we were in there like our third week or whatever. So we're only at challenge number 5. We're like halfway through the season, and nobody's made a power move. You saw Dunbar and Tyree go home, arguably physically a strong team. Nobody thought of them, as winning. Rob and Derek were home. Anastasia and Jessica were home. A lot of I don't want to say the weaker teams, but a lot of the teams that people didn't really expect to be there at the end, they're already gone, okay? So there's only so many teams now that you could pick on,
Yeah.
and it's like we know in our heads, we're doing it in our heads too. We're like, all right, we're probably on like episode 5 right now. We're at our 5th challenge. We should start making a power move. Let's spin the season around now. By week 5, we want to just wow the crowd. All right, so we're going to make a power move. We're going to go after Johnny and Frank. That way, if we win, we send a power team home that we don't have to worry about in the final. And if we lose, then we just lost to 2 former champions, and it's not that bad. So that was our strategy going into it. Obviously, the girls didn't want to vote that way, and it was in their control. They don't know how to add or do math, so they sent in Leroy and Ty against us, who I actually like both of them. You know what I mean? So I had nothing against Leroy or Ty.
This is actually a
Yeah, so
question. Drew actually wants to know, how did you feel
oh
when
yeah,
you
how did I
found
feel
out?
about going in the
Because
jungle? I mean,
honestly,
yeah,
as a
like
viewer,
Leroy and Ty are cool people, bro.
as a viewer, Trey, I thought Leroy would be the last one to get thrown in
Right.
as far as the guys go, because he had a lot of
Yeah,
girls that
like
had
this.
his
I
back,
mean,
you
this
know.
is
So I mean, to
this is what
see
happens in these games, bro. People get caught up,
that
man. So it's
curveball,
like I don't know. Leroy, Ty, they're cool people. Ty's obviously from my city of Baltimore, man. We're from the same hometown, so I like those guys. Going into it, I was extremely confident, though. I didn't think that there was any game that TJ would give us that we couldn't beat them in. So
hmm so you guys go in against Leroy and Ty. Um, the jungle was called. I don't remember. Well, you basically you guys had to slam down things in it,
I think it
and
was called
watching
break
it
on.
back when yeah, watching it back when they showed you and Zach doing the interview for it, saying I'm gonna get the first one, he's gonna get the second one. Were you like, oh
I
man,
knew that the way that, and I'm not supposed to talk too
like
much about this, which is frustrating, man. But I knew that they were going to edit it to make it look like we're idiots, and we're not. And it's like we understood it.
no,
And when I go back and I look at it, obviously they used my helmet cam because that was the best vantage point that you could see Zach's foot like hitting and breaking the board. But not once do they show me stomping it too. It wasn't like I just opened up the latch and I stood there and I just stared at Zach while he was stomping my floor. Like I was kicking it too. And I think that Zach just got so hyped up
yeah,
and he was just like so in the moment. And I guess I wasn't breaking it as fast as he would have liked. So he started helping. And I think of his foot was initially the one that broke it, which makes it look bad. And again, they use no camera angles of me stomping it. They only use my helmet cam to show Zach kicking it in. So a lot of frustration. I knew when they edited it. Zach saw this a couple weeks ago when he was flown out to Los Angeles. I think it was to do the after shows. They already showed him the episode there. So Zach
hmm
actually called me from LA and he told me, he's like, they made me look like an asshole this last episode. He's like, they made it look like I broke the thing. He's like, I don't even want to watch the episode. I'm sick to my stomach. And I told him not to worry about it. Zach's been really apologetic, man. He's felt really bad
I don't
about it.
blame him.
He really wanted to help me get to a final, and he really wanted to like just work with me, and he really wanted to be there just as bad as anybody else. And I kind of felt bad for him too. So all in all, that's why I said, man, a couple times on Twitter, it's really hard to relive it, and it's really hard to watch. I went home as the most winningest guys team there during that challenge on a disqualification and a technicality. Like I didn't lose to anybody. Nobody beat me. I lost to myself. And that's kind of frustrating, man, because I felt like the potential for him and I to go to the final, maybe not
Very.
first place. I mean, I thought we would have, but at least a final, bare minimum. So that kind of sucked, man.
Yeah, I hate it when DQs happen. I mean, I mean it happens. I mean technicalities. I know you didn't watch it, but I don't know if you heard about CT getting DQ'd
Somebody
on a
mentioned
past
that to
challenge
me,
in the
like
first
after it
duel.
happened to me, but I haven't seen it and I didn't know. But
Yeah,
I've talked to Mark Long about it. I've talked to some other people, and I've heard that it's happened before, and it's definitely not the way that you want to go out from one of these, man. It's not. It leaves a real sour taste in your mouth.
no. Um, gonna throw these last few questions out, Brett. Fire. Blake want. Well, I can't even read that. They want to know what do you think about the Leroy Teresa Jimmy
This is
drama?
another one of those things I just kind of stay out of, and it doesn't really concern me. It ain't my business. I didn't really, to be completely honest with you, I didn't even know that it was like that serious. Like I knew Leroy was kind of flirting with Jemmy, and I knew that Leroy was really feeling Teresa because he would tell me all the time when we were at the club or when we would be sitting on the bus. Because sometimes I sit next to Leroy on the bus, so Leroy was cool. So I mean, I kind of knew that he was feeling these girls, but I didn't know that it was like as intricate as it was until they aired the episode, and that episode was pretty much like all about them. Like I didn't know that it was like that serious. I mean, I was there obviously for the catch up thing. Like I was there for the charades and all that stuff, but I didn't really put it all together. And I guess that's a thing of me not caring and it not being my business. So I don't know, man. I don't really have any opinions. I know how it feels to be on a relationship on one of these shows. So it can be uncomfortable sometimes.
Uh-huh. Summer wants to know which one of the girls did you like the most on Rivals 2, and which one did you not like at
I
all or
really get
think?
along with Cara Marie, and a lot of people hate Cara Marie and they don't like her. But Cara Maria, she's been one that I've actually gotten along with on both the last ones, and we make fun of each other because we feel like we're like the black sheep of the house because like we don't really have as many friends we feel like as everybody else. So I really like Cara Maria, man. I think she's an awesome person, and I think if people really actually spent time with her and got to know her a little bit more, I mean, is she weird? Yeah, a little bit, but we're all kind of weird in our own way. So I think that she's a great person and she's got great intentions. Somebody I didn't like at all, if you would have asked me this question last season, it would have been easy. This season, there wasn't really a person that I didn't like. I mean, up until the last week, that's when Johnny and I started beefing. But before that, like, Johnny was just kind of there, bro. Like, I didn't even really pay attention to him. Obviously, he's loud and obnoxious and annoying, and he's always starting the chants and the toasts and all that shit. But he didn't really bother me until the last week. So, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I'll go with Johnny, but nobody really bothered me that bad.
Speaking of Johnny, Noel wants to know. We saw this last week after that, like I think it was Thursday. What was the deal with yours and Banana's Twitter
Yeah,
fight?
like Johnny's the type of person. He's a snake, so he'll write something about you, but he don't want to tag you in the status. And I know that he knows my username, and he can pretend like he doesn't know what it is, but he knows it, and he chose not to tag me, not to tag Zach. So I stumbled upon it on my own, and you got to know when you tweet something, and I have like 36,000. He's got like over 100,000 fans. You got to know that somebody's going to like tag your name in it, and it's going to get sent to you. And I see it and I just like to call him out on it. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna sit there and I get it. He's trying to excite the fans. He's trying to interact like MTV's asked us to do. He's trying to live tweet and he's trying to be funny because that's who Johnny is. But you're not gonna sit here and disrespect me at the same time
Yeah.
and make fun of me, and I'm just gonna sit here like a little boy and take it. Like I called him out. I said, listen, man. Your time is coming. Like, Johnny, you are not going to be doing this forever, bro. So whether I take you out or whether you get taken out in a wheelchair because of retirement, bro, you're not gonna be doing this as long as Mark Long. Like you ain't in that great shape. So whether it's physically getting taken out in an arena or you just not getting the calls anymore and you just crying because nobody wants you here, your time is gonna come. Your time is going to come, and I don't think that he likes that, man, because obviously that sparked a fire and it really got him hyped up to retaliate. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
Trevor said
Oh,
he'll turn
whatever.
into the
Then
host.
he can watch me do the
Uh-oh.
challenges, and he can just sit there.
Yeah. Brant wants to know. I'm gonna throw up a couple more. Would you ever do a season in
Sure, I'll do a
Antarctica?
season wherever they put us because they're not going to tell us until we get there, so I don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's probably one of the coolest things
Yeah,
about
man.
doing these, huh?
You
Is
get
that
to
you have no
the
idea
airport.
where you
They'll
guys
give
are
you
going until you get
a
there.
ticket to go to either JFK if you're flying out of New York or LAX if you're flying out of LA. They give you your plane ticket for that, and then as soon as you get there, you meet with everybody. You're all saying, "Hey, what's up, man? I ain't seen you in a long time." You give production your cell phone, and as soon as your cell phone and all your means of communication
Hmm.
are gone, then they give you your ticket for where you're gonna go. So I couldn't even call my mom and tell her I was going to Thailand. They don't even let you know, so kind of sucks, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. A couple more questions. Challenge Podcast wants to know, and I have a feeling I know what the answer is. What format would you like for the
I
next
know Mark's
challenge?
been preaching dual three, man. To me, I really don't even care. I think the only one that I wouldn't want right now that I'd be uncomfortable with is Battle of the Sexes, and I don't think that I'm sorry, Battle of the Exes. And I don't think that they're gonna push that, but obviously, like Laura and I mean, we had a falling out, and I always care about her in one way or another, and I wish her well. Don't wish any ill feelings towards her at all. But I think at this point in time, even though it's been a couple months, it's still kind of fresh. And I mean, I would work with her. Obviously, I'd make it work, but it'd be really uncomfortable. And I have a feeling if that were the case, there'd be a lot more drama surrounding me next show. But then again, Battle of the Exes is all about drama, so I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say I'd be the only one. But no, I care about her as a person. She's a great person, but I just think that it would be a little uncomfortable. So that's the one that I'm not hoping for. Any other challenge, I'm kind of open for.
This will be the last question. I'm gonna put up our Twitter names. DC wants to know of the three shows that you've done in the last year, which one did you enjoy the
Great
most?
question, DC. And honestly, this was my favorite. I think that this was my favorite because I had no girl drama. I was there to compete. I was winning challenges. I felt like I had the best partner in the house. Like I felt like Bunim and Murray and MTV set me up for success. I felt like this was my season. I was really confident. I mean, aside from the humidity in our living conditions with no air conditioning and shitty food, I had the most fun on this one. I mean, my real world will always be my real world, and that'll be my favorite no matter what. But out of all the three, this is probably the one that I had the most fun on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go with Rivals 2. Wish I could have been there longer, man.
Seemed like it. Seemed like a fun one, man. And I was speaking to Leroy, and he said this was his favorite one too. I spoke to Leroy last week. So yeah, man, what do you have going on? What do you have going on, man? I know you're going to LA soon, so what's going on with Trey
Yeah, man,
the
I'm
next
going out
couple
to
months?
LA probably either the 27th or the 28th. I'm booking my flight today. I'll be out there for a month until September 20 something. I don't know, but I'm going out there, man. I want to see Alex. Actually, she's offered me her pull-out couch, so I'm going to be staying with Alex. I'm going to be meeting her for the first time, which is awesome. So hopefully you guys will see me photo bombing some of her spree casts while she's got some random people on there. It ain't even got to be real world. I'm just going to be in the background photo bombing. So, I don't know. I'll be out in Los Angeles, man. I'm going to stop by AfterBuzz Studios. I'm going to stop by Bunim and Murray Studios and harass them.
You going
What's
to the
that?
VMAs? Are you going to the
Oh,
VMAs
man.
next month?
Dude, I got
Well, it's a couple
invited
weeks after
obviously
this.
last year because of our real world season, and they told me when I asked them for VMA tickets this year, I got screwed. I asked Dan Casser at MTV, I said, yo, it's in Brooklyn this year, so that's East Coast. I was like, I can afford to go to New York because last year I couldn't afford to fly all the way out to LA, man, because they don't cover every single cost for you, so I couldn't afford it. I did Vegas Bash instead. So, long story short, I told him, I was like, listen, man, this is the 1 year it's
Not a
in
bad
Brooklyn. I
choice.
said, I can do it. Can you give me a ticket? And he said, well, it's hard for us to get extra tickets, and we're only giving out tickets to people who are still on the challenge when the VMAs airs.
Oh,
I was
that's like
kind
a
of like,
stab in
it
the heart,
kind
I
of
bet.
rubbed it in my face. I'm like, all right, so not only did you guys disqualify me from the fucking challenge, but now I can't even get a ticket to the VMAs because I'm not going to be relevant because I'm not on TV
DQ'd
when it's airing.
twice.
So I was a little upset about that. So if you guys all want to go over to MTV and yell at
Damn.
them for me and tell them, hey, man, Trey's still a really cool and popular guy, and he should be in the
Damn.
VMAs, and that would be awesome. That might help me out a little bit.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Sorry to see you get eliminated, but I know we'll see more of you
I
in the
appreciate it,
coming
Andrew, and
future.
thanks everybody for being here with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for stopping by, man. There's our Twitter handles right here at CSUA Kirk at MTV Trey, and I'll definitely
Sounds
speak
good,
to you again
man.
real
Next time
soon,
I
man.
won't sleep through the alarm. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries, man. Like I said, it's happened before.
All right, man.
I'll
That's
let you
great.
know who it is. Whoever slept. All right, man. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. We'll
All right,
see you
guys. See
guys
you.